Listen closely, because what you are about to hear is not motivation meant to make you feel good for a few minutes. This is a truth meant to wake you up for the rest of your life. Most people never lose in public. They lose in private. They lose in silence, in the early morning, before the world ever sees them. They lose while lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, already tired of a day that has not yet begun. They lose when they decide, without saying it out loud, that today will control them instead of the other way around. That is how failure truly begins. Not with a mistake. Not with bad luck. Not with circumstances. It begins with a decision, or more accurately, with the refusal to decide. Napoleon Hill taught that every achievement, no matter how great, begins with a definite decision backed by faith and persistence. But what he did not always say directly is this: the first decision of the day often determines whether all the others will be strong or weak. This story begins with a man very much like you. He was not poor, but he was not free. He was not lazy, but he was not disciplined. He worked hard, yet his life felt heavy, slow, and disappointing. Every night he promised himself that tomorrow would be different. Every morning he broke that promise before his feet even touched the floor. When the alarm rang, he felt the familiar weight press down on his chest. Another day. Another struggle. Another chance to fall short. He would lie there, bargaining with comfort. Just 10 more minutes. Just a little more rest. He told himself he deserved it. What he did not realize was that those 10 minutes were stealing years from his future. Napoleon Hill wrote that the mind is the master we serve whether we choose to or not. This man was serving a mind trained in hesitation, doubt, and comfort. And every morning, he renewed that contract. One morning, something different happened. He woke up before the alarm. The room was dark and silent. The world had not yet started asking for anything from him. For the first time in years, there was a moment of stillness. In that moment, a thought struck him with uncomfortable clarity. No one is coming to save me. That thought did not bring fear. It brought power. Hill taught that self-reliance is the foundation of strength. This man finally understood it. He saw that his mornings were not neutral. They were either building his future or tearing it down. There was no middle ground. He realized that every morning he stayed in bed, he was practicing surrender. And practice makes permanent. He sat up. That single action felt harder than it should have. His body resisted. His mind whispered excuses. You are tired. You can start tomorrow. This will not change anything. But Hill warned that the devil of doubt speaks softly and reasonably. It never shouts. It persuades. For the first time, the man did not argue. He did not motivate himself. He did not search for inspiration. He simply stood up. That was the moment his life began to shift. This story is not about waking up early for the sake of waking up early. It is about decision. It is about training the mind to obey instead of negotiate. Hill believed that definiteness of purpose separates those who lead from those who drift. And drifting always begins in the morning. Most people drift out of bed and drift into their day. They let the world set their mood. They let yesterday decide today. They let weakness speak first. The strong do not do this. They decide before the day decides for them. As the man stood in the quiet of his room, he felt something unfamiliar. Control. The silence was not empty. It was powerful. There were no voices yet telling him who he had to be. No news. No messages. No complaints. Just his own thoughts. Hill wrote that the subconscious mind absorbs whatever it is fed, especially when the conscious mind is relaxed. Those early hours are when beliefs are planted deepest. This man began to see that his mornings were a battlefield, just as you are beginning to see it now. He understood something most people never do. Discipline is not something you use when you feel strong. It is something you use to become strong. That morning, he did not try to change his whole life. He did not set impossible goals. He made one clear decision. I will win the first battle of the day. He washed his face with cold water. The shock woke him fully. He stood still and breathed deeply. He reminded himself of who he wanted to become, not emotionally, but deliberately. Hill called this autosuggestion, the art of impressing the mind with chosen thoughts. He did not say I hope today is good. He said today I act with purpose. That shift may sound small, but it is not. Hope is passive. Purpose is active. As the days passed, this decision began to compound. Each morning he rose without negotiation, something inside him grew stronger. Confidence did not come from success. It came from self-trust. He was proving to himself, once a day, that his word mattered. Napoleon Hill emphasized that faith is built through repeated action aligned with belief. This man was building faith in himself every morning before the world could tear it down. His problems did not disappear. His work did not suddenly become easy. But his response to life changed. He no longer felt hunted by the day. He felt prepared for it. This is where your story begins too. You may believe your struggle is different. That your life is heavier. That your circumstances are harder. Hill would tell you that circumstances do not define you unless you let them. The mind that refuses to surrender in the morning is the same mind that refuses to surrender to life. This first part is not about techniques. It is about identity. Are you the person who negotiates with comfort or the person who commands their mind? Every great achievement begins with a clear decision. Not someday. Not when it feels right. Now. In the next part, you will learn how to turn this decision into a habit so powerful that it reshapes your confidence, your focus, and your destiny. But none of that matters if you do not make the choice first. Tomorrow morning, when your eyes open, remember this story. That moment is not small. It is everything. Part 2. The hour that builds or breaks. While you before the sun rises, before the world begins its noise, a quiet hour decides who you will become. Most people never realize this. They believe life is shaped by big moments, lucky breaks, or dramatic events. Napoleon Hill taught something very different. He taught that life is shaped by habits repeated so often they become invisible. And no habit is more powerful than how you use the first hour of your day. This part of the story continues with the same man, because transformation does not happen all at once. It happens step by step, decision by decision. After he learned to rise without negotiation, he faced a new question. What do I do with this time? At first, he stood in the quiet, unsure of himself. The world was asleep, and for once, no one was demanding anything from him. This freedom felt strange. Almost uncomfortable. Most people avoid silence because silence forces them to face themselves. Napoleon Hill wrote that fear often appears when the mind is idle and undirected. This man understood that if he did not take command of this hour, it would slip away like all the others before it. He remembered something Hill emphasized repeatedly. Desire must be backed by a definite plan. Wanting a better life is not enough. Hoping to be strong is not enough. Action must be intentional. So he made a decision. This hour would belong to him, not to his job, not to his phone, not to the opinions of others, not to the chaos of the world. This hour would be used to build strength, clarity, and confidence from the inside out. At first, his body resisted. The bed still called to him. Comfort whispered promises of rest. But he had learned the truth. Comfort is never free. It always charges interest, and the payment comes in regret. Hill warned that drifting is the most dangerous habit of all. Drifting feels harmless. It feels easy. But it slowly steals ambition, discipline, and purpose. This man saw that every minute spent drifting in bed was a vote for the same life he claimed he wanted to escape. So he chose differently. He stood by the window and watched the darkness slowly give way to light. In that moment, something powerful happened. He realized that history's greatest men and women were not given more time than he was. They were given the same 24 hours. The difference was how they used the quiet ones. Hill studied hundreds of successful individuals and found a pattern. They used solitude to shape their thinking before the world tried to shape it for them. This man decided to do the same. He began using the first minutes of the morning to speak to his mind with authority. Hill called this autosuggestion, but the idea was simple. The mind believes what it hears repeatedly, especially when emotion is attached. Instead of waking up thinking about problems, he began declaring intentions. He spoke aloud because spoken words carry more power than silent thoughts. He said who he was becoming, not who he had been. He spoke strength before weakness could speak first. At first, his voice felt awkward. Part of him felt foolish. But Hill taught that growth often feels uncomfortable because it requires leaving familiar mental territory. Comfort zones are cages disguised as safety. As days passed, something changed. His words began to feel real. His posture changed. His energy shifted. Confidence did not come from success. It came from alignment between thought and action. He noticed that when he declared strength in the morning, he acted with strength during the day. When he spoke focus, distractions lost their grip. When he announced courage, fear no longer controlled him. This was not magic. It was discipline. Hill wrote that the subconscious mind accepts commands given with repetition and belief. This man was programming his mind deliberately instead of letting fear and doubt do it by default. Then he added one more element: movement. Napoleon Hill believed that energy is the fuel of achievement. A sluggish body produces sluggish thinking. This man realized that if he wanted a powerful mind, he had to wake his body as well. He began moving with purpose. Simple movements at first: stretching, walking, breathing deeply, letting blood flow, letting oxygen wake his brain. As his body moved, his thoughts sharpened. The fog that once followed him into the morning began to disappear. He felt alert, alive, capable. Hill taught that emotion combined with action creates momentum. This man was building momentum before the world even noticed him. Most people wait for motivation. He no longer did. He had learned a critical truth. Motivation follows action. It does not precede it. Each morning victory built self-respect. Self-respect built confidence. Confidence built courage. Courage built results. This hour became sacred. He guarded it fiercely. He stopped staying up late for meaningless distractions. He stopped sacrificing tomorrow for comfort tonight. Hill warned that success requires the discipline to delay gratification. This man was practicing that discipline daily. The world did not suddenly become easier. Challenges still appeared. Problems still demanded attention. But he faced them differently. He no longer reacted. He responded. He noticed something else too. On days when he skipped this routine, even once, the day felt heavier. His patience was shorter. His focus weaker. The pattern was undeniable. Master the morning and you master the mind. Hill believed that definiteness of purpose must be renewed daily. This hour became that renewal. It reminded him who he was becoming and why. This is where you are now in the story. You may believe you do not have time. Hill would tell you that time is never found. It is taken. The same excuses that keep people weak keep them busy with unimportant things. This hour is not about perfection. It is about control. Control over your thoughts. Control over your words. Control over your body. Control over the direction of your life. When you win this hour, you win something priceless. Momentum. Momentum turns effort into progress. Progress turns belief into certainty. Certainty turns desire into reality. In the next part, you will learn how to use this momentum to build unshakable focus and purpose that carries you through the entire day. But remember this: greatness does not begin at noon. It begins in silence, and silence belongs to those who are strong enough to rise and claim it. Part 3. The forging of inner steel. Before the world tests you, you must test yourself. That is the truth most people never learn. They wait for life to harden them. They wait for struggle to give them strength. Napoleon Hill taught the opposite. He taught that strength is built intentionally, long before the battle begins. This part of the story is where the man truly began to change. He had already claimed the early hour. He had already learned to speak power into his mornings. But something was still missing. His mind was stronger, yes, but his body lagged behind. And deep down, he felt it. Hill believed that harmony between body, mind, and purpose is essential for success. When one is weak, the others suffer. One morning, standing alone in the quiet, the man realized the hard truth. He could not expect his mind to be disciplined if his body was undisciplined. He could not demand courage from his thoughts if he avoided discomfort with his actions. So he made another decision. Every morning, before the world touched him, he would move his body with intensity. Not later. Not when convenient. First. His body protested. His muscles were stiff. His lungs burned. His heart pounded harder than he liked. But as Napoleon Hill wrote, every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. The discomfort was not punishment. It was training. As he pushed himself, something unexpected happened. His thoughts grew sharper. His doubts became quieter. His fear lost its edge. He understood then that physical effort was not just exercise. It was mental conditioning. Each push, each step, each moment of strain sent a message deep into his subconscious. I do not quit when things get hard. That message echoed throughout his day. Hill taught that the subconscious mind learns best through emotion and repetition. Morning exercise combined both. The discomfort created emotion. The daily practice created repetition. Together, they rewired his identity. He no longer asked himself if he felt like doing hard things. He simply did them. After movement came stillness. This surprised him even more. In a world addicted to noise, sitting quietly felt unnatural. 10 minutes with no phone, no music, no distractions. Just breath and awareness. At first, his mind rebelled. Thoughts raced. Worries surfaced. Old memories demanded attention. But Hill warned that an undisciplined mind will always resist control. So he stayed. He breathed slowly. He observed without judgment. He learned to watch his thoughts instead of obeying them. This was not relaxation. This was command. Day by day, he discovered something powerful. Thoughts were not orders. They were suggestions. And he did not have to accept them all. Through stillness, he built an inner distance between himself and fear. Problems that once overwhelmed him now appeared manageable. He had found his center. Hill believed that calmness under pressure is one of the greatest signs of mental strength. This practice gave him that calm. After stillness came nourishment for the mind. The man noticed how most people around him began their days. They consumed news, complaints, and the opinions of others before they consumed anything of value. And then they wondered why they felt anxious and directionless. He chose differently. Each morning, he read the words of those who had conquered before him. Men and women who had built success from nothing but thought and persistence. He fed his mind wisdom instead of noise. Hill emphasized that we become what we think about most of the time. The man made sure his first thoughts of the day were powerful ones. Even 10 minutes of reading changed his perspective. Problems shrank. Possibilities expanded. His thinking elevated. Then came writing. This practice changed everything. When he wrote, his thoughts slowed down. Confusion became clarity. Fear lost its grip. Goals became specific instead of vague. Hill taught that definiteness of purpose must be written and reviewed daily. The man finally understood why. Writing forced honesty. It exposed excuses. It revealed patterns he had never noticed. Each morning, he wrote what he would accomplish that day. He wrote what kind of man he would be. He wrote what he refused to tolerate from himself anymore. The page became his mirror. As his mind cleared, his confidence grew. Not the loud kind. The quiet kind. The kind that comes from knowing who you are and where you are going. Then came the cold. This was the hardest part. Standing under cold water every morning felt like madness at first. Every instinct screamed to escape. Every nerve fired in protest. And that was exactly the point. Hill wrote that self-discipline is the master key to riches of every kind. Cold water became his daily lesson in self-discipline. Each second he stayed under the cold stream was a declaration. I choose will over comfort. Something profound happened as the days passed. His tolerance for discomfort increased everywhere. Stress at work felt easier to handle. Difficult conversations no longer intimidated him. Challenges lost their power to shake him. He was no longer training just his body. He was training his reaction to adversity. The cold did not change. He did. Finally, he set his intention. Before leaving his home, he decided exactly what the day would be about. Not everything. Just the most important thing. He'll believe that a focused mind is a powerful mind. This daily intention gave his actions direction. He was no longer drifting. He was aiming. This entire ritual took less than an hour. But its impact lasted all day. He noticed the difference immediately. His posture changed. His voice steadied. His decisions became firmer. People responded to him differently. Not because he demanded respect, but because he carried it within himself. This is what most people misunderstand about strength. It is not aggression. It is alignment. When your actions align with your values, your thoughts align with your goals, and your habits align with your purpose, strength becomes inevitable. This is where you stand now. Part 3 is about forging inner steel. Not through motivation, but through daily discipline. Not through inspiration, but through action. Napoleon Hill spent his life studying success. If he were standing here now, he would tell you this. The person you become is decided in the quiet hours when no one is watching. Train your body. Still your mind. Feed your thoughts. Write your intentions. Embrace discomfort. Do these things consistently, and something inside you will harden in the best possible way. In the next part, you will learn how to carry this inner strength into your interactions with the world and how to protect it from the negativity that tries to tear it down. But for now, remember this. Strength is not given. It is forged. Part 4. Guarding the mind from the world. The strongest fortress ever built did not fall because of weak walls. It fell because someone left the gate open. That is how most people lose their power. They build discipline in the morning, strength in their habits, clarity in their thinking, and then they give it all away the moment they step into the world. One careless conversation. One negative voice. One complaint absorbed without resistance. And suddenly, the fire they work so hard to ignite begins to fade. Napoleon Hill warned about this danger again and again. He called it environmental influence. The quiet force that shapes your thinking without your permission if you are not alert. This is where the story of the man enters a new phase. By now, his mornings were solid. His body was stronger. His mind was clearer. His purpose felt sharper. But something unexpected began to happen. As he moved through his day, he felt resistance. Not from circumstances, but from people. Friends questioned his discipline. Coworkers mocked his seriousness. Some smiled politely while quietly hoping he would return to his old, predictable self. Hill discovered a painful truth while studying success. Most people are unconsciously hostile to growth. Not because they are evil, but because your discipline reminds them of their own lack of it. The man felt this pressure immediately. He noticed how easy it was to slip back into old patterns after listening to complaints all day. He saw how doubt crept in after long conversations with people who had no vision. He realized that mental strength is not built once and kept forever. It must be protected daily. So he learned the next great lesson. You must guard your mind like a soldier guards a post. The first rule was simple. Do not argue with negativity. Most people think strength means fighting every opinion, correcting every wrong thought, and proving themselves to others. Hill taught the opposite. Energy wasted is power lost. The man stopped explaining himself. He stopped defending his discipline. He stopped seeking approval for the life he was building. He understood that silence is often the strongest response. When someone complained, he did not join in. When someone mocked effort, he did not react. When someone tried to pull him back into comfort, he quietly stepped away. This was not arrogance. It was protection. Hill believed that the mind takes on the shape of the thoughts it repeatedly encounters. The man decided that not every thought deserved access to his inner world. He became selective. The second rule was even harder. Choose your inner circle with intention. Hill wrote that no man rises higher than the company he keeps. The man saw this truth everywhere. People who drift together sink together. People who complain together stay trapped together. So he began to distance himself from chronic negativity. Not dramatically. Not cruelly. Simply deliberately. He spent more time alone. More time reading. More time thinking. More time around those who spoke about goals instead of gossip. At first, loneliness tried to scare him. But Hill taught that solitude is often the price of greatness. Temporary isolation is better than permanent mediocrity. Slowly, the loneliness faded. In its place came clarity. The third rule was mastery of reaction. This rule changed everything. Life did not stop testing him. Problems still appeared. Stress still knocked on his door. But his response transformed. Hill emphasized that the strongest people are not those who avoid problems, but those who control their emotional response to them. When something went wrong, the man no longer exploded or collapsed. He paused. He breathed. He observed his thoughts before acting. This pause became his power. He realized that between stimulus and response lies freedom. Most people never experience this freedom because they react instantly. Emotion leads. Logic follows too late. The man reversed the order. He decided how he would respond before responding. Over time, this made him appear calm, steady, and confident. People trusted him more. Opportunities found him. Not because he chased them, but because he carried himself like someone capable of handling responsibility. Hill believed that leadership begins with self-control. The man was becoming a leader without trying to be one. The fourth rule was mental diet. Just as he controlled what he ate physically, he now controlled what he consumed mentally throughout the day. He limited news. He avoided pointless arguments. He stopped feeding on outrage and fear. Hill warned that fear is the most destructive emotion of all. It paralyzes decision and clouds judgment. Instead, the man returned to wisdom whenever his mind felt heavy. A few pages of a powerful book. A few written thoughts to regain clarity. A moment of silence to reset his center. He did not wait until he felt overwhelmed. He intervened early. This discipline created consistency. And consistency created confidence. The fifth rule was evening review. Napoleon Hill believed that growth accelerates when reflection becomes a habit. Each evening, the man reviewed his day. He asked simple questions. Did I act with purpose today? Did I protect my mind? Did I react or respond? Did I move closer to who I am becoming? There was no judgment. Only honesty. When he failed, he adjusted. When he succeeded, he reinforced the habit. This practice closed the loop. His mornings set intention. His days tested discipline. His evenings refined strategy. The result was inevitable. Momentum. Not the loud, reckless kind. The quiet, unstoppable kind. Weeks passed. Then months. The man was no longer recognizable to his former self. Not because he became someone else, but because he finally became himself. He stood straighter. He spoke with purpose. He listened more than he talked. He chose his battles carefully. He no longer leaked energy into places that gave nothing in return. Hill wrote that success attracts success. The man began attracting better conversations, better opportunities, better challenges. Not easy ones, better ones. This is the stage where many fail. They think strength means isolation forever. Hill never taught that. He taught discernment. You do not avoid people. You choose influence wisely. You learn when to engage and when to withdraw. When to speak and when to stay silent. When to push and when to observe. This is mental maturity. This is where you are now. Part 4 is about protection. You can build strength in the morning. But if you do not protect it during the day, the world will take it from you piece by piece. Guard your thoughts. Choose your influences. Control your reactions. Review your actions. Do this, and you become dangerous in the best possible way. Not loud. Not aggressive. Unshakable. In the next part, you will learn how this inner strength turns into outward results, and how purpose begins to pull your life forward with force instead of friction. But remember this truth. A disciplined mind is powerful. A protected disciplined mind is unstoppable. Part 5. Turning inner strength into victory. What separates those who dream from those who achieve is not luck or talent. It is the ability to turn inner strength into real-world results. Napoleon Hill studied thousands of successful men and women and discovered one powerful truth. Strength without purpose is wasted energy. Discipline without direction is a ship lost at sea. This part of the journey is where the man moved beyond preparation and protection. He stepped into action. He turned his mental fortress into a launching pad for victory. When he began, he noticed a strange thing. His mornings were strong. His mind was disciplined. Yet progress was slow. Life still threw obstacles. His goals seemed distant. He almost gave up. But then he remembered Hill's lesson: persistence is the master key. Victory belongs to those who refuse to quit. The man made a new decision. He would take deliberate action every day toward his purpose, no matter how small. He would use his inner strength as fuel, not a trophy. Napoleon Hill called this definiteness of purpose. Knowing exactly what you want and moving toward it every day with focused intensity. The man wrote down his major goal. Not a vague wish, but a clear outcome. Then he broke it into daily steps. Not overwhelming, but manageable. Each morning he asked himself, what one action will move me closer to my goal today? This question changed everything. It stopped procrastination before it began. It turned overwhelm into focus. It forced him to prioritize. Hill believed that clarity of purpose combined with action forms an unstoppable force. The man discovered that momentum builds one small victory at a time. Some days the victories were barely noticeable. Others they felt like breakthroughs. But each day he acted, no matter what. Hill taught that success is the result of consistent action over time, not grand gestures or lucky breaks. The man learned to embrace the process. He understood that setbacks were not failures but lessons. Discomfort was not punishment but proof of growth. Doubt was not a stop sign but a signal to press harder. This mindset made him resilient. When the world pushed back, he pushed harder. When his energy waned, he relied on habit. When motivation disappeared, he acted anyway. Napoleon Hill said that faith and action together are the forces that transform dreams into reality. The man embodied this truth. With every deliberate step, his confidence grew. He no longer feared failure because he saw it as temporary. He no longer waited for perfect conditions because he knew perfection is an illusion. He became a doer. The man also discovered the power of association. Hill taught that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So he chose his company carefully. He sought out those who inspired, challenged, and supported his growth. He shared his goals openly with those who believed in him. He avoided energy vampires who drained his resolve. This created a circle of momentum. People around him began to reflect his new energy. They held him accountable. They celebrated his progress. They pushed him beyond limits he once thought impossible. Hill believed that success is a team sport. Even the greatest leaders depend on alliances. The man learned to ask for help when needed. He learned to give as much as he received. He realized that no victory is complete without community. As days turned to weeks, the man noticed something else. His small daily actions began to compound. Opportunities emerged. Doors opened. Challenges became stepping stones. He no longer had to force progress. His purpose began to pull him forward. Hill taught that when you align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with your definite chief aim, you tap into a universal power that moves mountains. The man was living proof. But with progress came temptation. The temptation to rest on laurels. To celebrate too early. To ease up on discipline. Hill warned against this. Success requires vigilance. The moment you relax your guard, weakness sneaks back in. The man recommitted to daily rituals that built his strength. He reminded himself that every day is a new battle. Every victory is a new beginning. He understood that mental strength is not a destination but a lifelong journey. His life was transforming before his eyes. Not because external circumstances had changed drastically overnight, but because he had changed inside. His purpose was no longer a dream. It was a plan. His actions were no longer random. They were intentional. His mind was no longer a battlefield. It was a command center. Napoleon Hill said, "Success comes to those who become success conscious." The man had become success conscious. Now he faced a new challenge. How to sustain this strength through inevitable hardships. He learned to rest without quitting. To celebrate without losing focus. To push boundaries without breaking. Hill believed that balance is key to lasting achievement. Excess of anything leads to downfall. The man practiced patience with himself. He accepted that progress is not always linear. Some days would be harder than others, but he never lost sight of the prize. This is where you are now. Part 5 is about turning inner strength into victory. Not with luck or shortcuts, but with relentless, focused action. Not with force, but with flow. You have built your fortress. You have protected your mind. Now it is time to move forward. Take the small step today. Align your thoughts with your actions. Choose your company wisely. Commit to your definite purpose. Remember Hill's words. Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand. Your future is shaped by what you do today. In the next and final part, you will discover how to make this strength unstoppable by cultivating faith in yourself and your purpose. You will learn how to become a beacon that not only conquers but inspires. But for now, hold this truth close. Victory is not won in a moment. It is forged daily in the fires of discipline and action. Step forward with courage. The world is waiting for you. Part 6. The Unstoppable Force, Faith, Purpose, and Legacy. Why victory is not the end. It is the beginning of a new battle. Napoleon Hill knew this truth well. He taught that mental strength and success are not just about what you do, but what you believe. The final key to unstoppable power lies in faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your purpose, and faith in the journey no matter the obstacles. The man had walked a long road. He rose early. He built discipline. He protected his mind. He took deliberate action every day. And now, he stood on the edge of his greatest challenge yet, because strength without faith is like a ship without a rudder. Directionless. Vulnerable. He learned that faith is not blind hope or wishful thinking. It is the unwavering belief that no matter what happens, you will find a way forward. It is the inner voice that says, I can and I will, even when the world says otherwise. Hill wrote that faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches, visible or invisible. It is the power that turns thoughts into things, ideas into reality, dreams into achievements. The man embraced this power fully. He began every morning not only declaring strength but affirming his unshakable faith in his destiny. He spoke to himself as if the victory was already his, because in the mind of a champion, it is. Faith gave him courage to face fears that once paralyzed him. It gave him resilience when setbacks threatened to break him. It gave him hope when the future looked uncertain. This faith was contagious. People around him began to feel it too. His energy inspired others to believe in their own potential. His conviction attracted allies, mentors, and opportunities like a magnet. Hill believed that your belief system shapes your reality. Change your beliefs and you change your world. The man became a living example. But faith is not passive. It demands action. It demands persistence. It demands sacrifice. It requires the willingness to keep going when the easy path calls louder than the hard one. The man was ready. He understood that every great leader in history carried faith as their secret weapon. It was faith that pushed Martin Luther King Jr. to dream aloud when the world doubted. It was faith that gave Thomas Edison the will to try thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. It was faith that fueled the explorers who crossed oceans and climbed mountains no one believed possible. You have that same power inside you. The final step in this journey is to decide what legacy you will leave. Hill wrote that a life purpose gives meaning to suffering. It transforms hardship into triumph. It changes the ordinary into the extraordinary. The man asked himself, what mark will I leave on this world? This question changed everything. Purpose became more than just achieving goals. It became about impact, about contribution, about becoming a force for good in a world hungry for leaders. You are called to that same purpose. Live not just for yourself but for those who come after you. Build a life so strong, so clear, so determined that it becomes a beacon for others to follow. Now, take everything you have learned, the discipline of the morning, the protection of your mind, the power of deliberate action, the strength of faith and belief. Use it to rise every day like a conqueror. Speak your purpose with thunder. Act with relentless determination. Guard your mind like a fortress. Fuel your faith with unshakable belief. You are not here by accident. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the architect of your destiny. The world is waiting for your greatness. Stand up. Rise strong. Become unstoppable. And if this message has spoken to your soul, share it with others who need it. Subscribe to follow the journey and empower your mornings. Comment below and tell me what step you will take today to become mentally strong. Remember, your life is the greatest story you will ever tell. Write it boldly. Write it with purpose. Write it now, because your future begins every morning when you decide to be strong. Would you like me to help you craft a powerful title, description, and viral hashtags for this complete 6-part motivational series?